And we focus on Carnival 2017, Carnival on the whole, and Carnival as a business as well. You know, we tend to see it as just something that comes around every year. We buy a costume, we do this, we do that, and it's done. But it's much more than that, and we need to make it much more than that as well. And one of the things that we also need to do is protect ourselves, protect our business of Carnival. So we're going to be talking once again, continuing talking about Carnival copyright and a variety of different things related to really protecting what is Trinidad and Tobago's, what is yours, especially if you produce some work of art for Carnival or any other project, season, whatever it may be. And once again, in studio with me, I've got next to me Fabian Alfonso, who is an attorney at law. We're going to be talking about this. And Akila Phillip, who is also an attorney focusing on entertainment. She decided to actually get into the entertaining business, the entertainment side of law. So she's quite versed at answering or, you know, talking about topics such as these. Now, one of the things I want to start with is an overview of neighboring rights. You know, who exactly are the individuals and entities that are protected with respect to neighboring rights? I think you can answer this, Fabian Alfonso.
Yes, a pleasure being here.
Thank you.
I think we need to make a basic comparison that copyright applies to authors and composers. Those are the persons who construct lyrics and compose melodies, and that will be reference to musical works or songs. Neighboring rights apply to an entirely different category of creatives and individuals or entities known as performers, producers, and broadcast organizations. So I think in our thrust forward to administration of copyrights and neighboring rights, we must start from there by understanding that these two rights must be seen and administered as two independent and separate rights.
So how do we get people and promoters and various entities to understand this? Because sometimes it's a technical thing, and sometimes they just go into a business, they just produce a work of art, and they really have no clue.
Well, it starts with education, I think. I think understanding from the time you are a creative, what right do you possess when you're going into the business relationship? So if you are entering into the production stage, from the time you decide, well, okay, I'm going to work with various creatives and I'm going to either produce or I'm going to lend my vocals, you need to understand what side of the IP right you're standing on so that the education starts from pre-production.
Okay. Now, what about the importance of promoters and copyrights and clearing both copyrights and neighboring rights, you know, especially with Carnival events, because we're going to see that so often. So many fetes are taking place, different promoters, you know, attached to these fetes, these parties. What is the importance of that clearing both copyright and neighboring rights?
I love that question, because right now we are in the middle of the Carnival season. And if out of 100 events, that promoters, if 10% of them secured a neighboring right, that's a lot. So we have a major issue of non-compliance. And that sends a message in terms of remuneration. It means that the authors and composers are the ones who are being compensated, while the producers and performers are the ones who are out of the pie. So we have to get to that point where promoters must understand, while securing a copyright license, you need to also secure a neighboring right license. But we have an issue where I understand a police officer telling a promoter that the only license you need to secure is the one from COT, and you don't need to secure any other license because COT is a government organization. So sometimes in
so it starts with the education, you know, getting the basic education to the people who need to implement it and who it affects. Because if you have a creative who understands that if I do not a license isn't granted for me, then the money would not trickle down into my pocket, then you'll see a need for them to advocate and a need for them to ensure that they are compliant with the other persons that they're working with.
I just want to ask a question too. What are the government, because he said that COT was government. Is it?
It's not really.
There you go. And I think that's the misconception that people have.
So what we need to do is to maybe engage the Ministry of Legal Affairs to have a workshop with the police officers and clear up that misinformation that out of the three organizations, whether it's COT, TTCO, or some Intel, they are all private entities.
Yes, and I don't think people are aware of that, because I think COT has been around for so long.
Yes.
And, you know, collecting royalties to pay out royalty. We're collecting monies to pay out royalties that people think it's government, but it's not. No. And I think that is one of the first misconceptions. And another thing, as you mentioned, a police officer said, is he supposed to, or who is the body that is supposed to inform that promoter what is supposed to be done?
To tell you the truth, I have no problem with police officers informing promoters what the rights are, because there are what you call penalties. But I think if we can create the balance and educate the police officer to inform the promoter to say you need to collect, you pay a license from COT and a license to TTCO, who handles neighboring rights, I think that's a good position I would love the industry to get into.
Yes, and I mean, to answer your question in the sense of who should the promoter go to, you need to go to the various collective management agencies, because these are the organizations that through their membership is empowered to grant licenses to the various entities that wish to use the work belonging to their membership, because by a member joining a collective management organization, you are thereby assigning your rights to the organization to act on your behalf. So if you're going to engage in using the work from any one of those members, then you need to go and have a dialogue with that organization.
Now, something else I want to find out, because when you have these fests, you play people's music. They're supposed to get royalties eventually from that music. How was that, though, translated to whichever entity they send it to, whether it be COT, whether it be TTCO, whoever it is, that these are the artists that I played, is a playlist? What are the promoters supposed to do to ensure that the royalties get to the respective parties?
Well, actually, each organization, they have their own system, all right? And it's not going down that thought of a playlist could lead into problems, all right? The important thing is that the Act says to play music, you need to obtain a license. So it's almost based on an assumption of what you're going to play, because the DJ may not know exactly what he's going to play. You may have a playlist, and then someone might come at the side of you and say, hey, I want you to play this song. How do you fit that into the playlist? Okay. A pre-playlist.
So it's a little fluid, it's a little flexible with respect to that.
Because music is fluid, you know.
Okay, yeah, it depends on the vibes that are happening at the point in time.
The crowd response. Yes. Exactly. So, you know, you may decide to play one thing and then the party may be going in a different direction. So it's always best to be covered by a general license.
Now, the basic definitions of authors and composers, how a song, you know, these are also very important. Lyrics and melody, how they're constructed, you know, what the copyright protection, the copyright duration of songs. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, copyright, lasts for a period of 50 years. So it's the lifetime of the author, and then 50 years after that. Whereas the neighboring rights, it lasts 50 calendar days, according to the Act. So you need to ensure when you have created this work, that you're really allowed to exploit it to the best of your abilities. Okay,
so there are things called authors, composers, with respect to lyrics and melody, there are different things. Now, people also need to understand, as you mentioned, you know, there are different organizations. There's COT, there's TTCO, and the third one is?
Awesome Intel.
Awesome Intel.
They represent copyright owners as well.
Okay, so they represent copyright owners. But not all of them do the same thing, is it? Or is it that if you're registered with one, you cannot collect the same thing with someone else? How does it work with the various? Because sometimes people may find themselves in maybe all three, register with all three. So how does it work for the authors, the composers, the promoters when they have to clear these copyrights and you know, neighboring rights and these types of things? How does that work really? I mean, if you're with all three, what happens?
But it's in different capacities. And that's
what I would like to know.
Yes, you first need to understand, that's why it starts at the creation stage. Once you understand exactly what you are doing, if you are an author, for instance, and that is strictly what you're dealing with, then you would know which copyright organization that you would, management organization that you need to register. Because there is a clear distinction in terms of where your interests would lie, in terms of who would be able to represent you, and then who would be able then to administer any rights that you have.
Okay, so it's not really as confusing as it sounds.
No, it's not. It's very clear-cut. Once a promoter is interested in finding out, you can contact the collective management agency, engage in dialogue, and understand exactly what right that collective management agency is representing. So you know, okay, they are representing authors and composers, which is one element of the IP creation. So that's how it goes.
It's important, authors, composers, promoters, anyone in any sort of carnival event. And it's not just music we're talking about any work of art.
Yeah.
They need to be registered.
Performers and producers.
Performance and producers, everybody, all right, to be protected and to ensure that they do in fact get the royalties that they deserve
Yes.
from whatever work of art that they produce.
Yes.
This is an ongoing discussion. We need to continue this, and not even during the carnival season, but after as well for
yeah,
people
because
who
music
are.
is throughout the year.
That's it. So we will be continuing this discussion here on GMTT throughout, because it's important. You produce a work of art. You deserve to get monies for it.